onto the computer. All right. Welcome, CO302, Friday of week 11. Joined with Jeff and Shay. And we are basically doing two big things today, making notes as I go along. One of them is looking at the question of permissions and use, or fair use, and the tools we have to do that, and some considerations connected to that. And then the other question that I had that I kind of wanted to talk about, a bigger level question, is the role of audience in your website. And not just your website, but online writing in general. And thinking about as a composer, what we're getting out of the site so for example, Jeff's site here is not just for Jeff's audience, it's also for Jeff himself, right? There is a process here that building the website is valuable for the sake of building the website, because it's putting your work together, that whole Austin Kleon part. I think we've done really good as a class thinking in those terms, where the website is really a place, the portfolio is really a place where you can kind of put your work together to make sense of the work that you're doing. And I think a lot of us are ready to move into the question, okay, now how am I going to take what I'm doing and make it useful for an audience? So that means that you're really actually thinking about who is the audience. And that means, hopefully, for everybody doing a professional kind of website, you're actually in the back of your mind, or maybe not so much in the back of your mind, thinking of a particular employer or a particular person that might benefit from this. So that you can, one good thing to use an ePortfolio for is it's just as a little introduction to someone that you're hoping to make some kind of a meeting with, kind of progress professionally. So I wanted to remind us of the big picture of what an audience cares about. And I'm going to put the question to the class. What does an audience care about?
For this, it's content and work history.
Yes. And so let's go with that for a minute. Content and history. How do you choose what kind of content and what kind of history?
Stuff that's presentable.
Yes, good. And I guess what industry are you going to work in, Jeff? What's kind of your
just product design and
great,
the kind of consumer goods.
And what's your major, Jeff?
Mechanical engineering.
Awesome. And you are looking at making goods, as this image represents, right? Mm-hmm. Something like it.
Kind of.
So what else does your audience care about? What kinds of things not only are they going to see you for your content and your history, but what other things might they actually care about?
Well, definitely the process.
Yes.
Which is the point of having that on the main page. And I don't know, character arcs of showing long-term growth.
Shay, can you think of anything else before I add in my list to this? If you were looking at this, what would you care about if you're checking out Jeff's work?
Yeah, I think just like I think that could just touch on just like the process and like kind of like the process. Like I know the results are important, but also kind of like the steps taken, I guess.
Good. And so I like that. I'm also thinking about basically the idea of fun. I want fun. I don't know if you guys want fun right now. I'm also thinking about when you said like a story or a narrative arc. And I'm thinking about clarity in terms of clarity in terms of writing is what we're really looking for. So this is a good point. If we have this big kind of structure of what an audience is going to look for in terms of they're hoping to get the information that they want to get it quickly, they want to get it easily, they want to have a good time doing it, they want to see some semblance of a story, then you can look at little tiny pictures about what are the small details doing in light of that. So Jeff asked a very particular question of whether or not about thumbnails. So what and how good are the thumbnails that you're using, and how do you choose them? Is that a fair representation of your question, Jeff?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I know my initial sense, there's kind of two ways we could read a thumbnail. One is the immediate, like subconscious response that you have to it. And another is like the after the fact cognitive response. That's laid out really well in a book called Thinking Fast and Slow, which I'd highly recommend. I'll make a note of that for everybody. It goes over, our brains have two kinds of processing, a really hyper fast precognitive processing, that's fast thinking, and then a slow thinking where we're actually like working things out, comparing alternatives and so on and so forth. Tyler in our class shared, did you guys know that Tetris world championships are a thing?
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
That's amazing.
I've watched a couple. I've definitely watched a couple, like the entire like 40-minute ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it. I just saw this title on the tab and I was like, maybe I should show people what that video is.
It's fantastic.
That looks amazing. This is actually a really good example of what Kahneman, I don't know how to say his name, Daniel Kahneman, who actually won the Nobel Prize in economics for his work in Thinking Fast and Slow. So he's like a Nobel Prize winner in a discipline that the book isn't even about, because it says so much about economics. And it says a lot about basically how we process information. So I would say you could judge your thumbnails on two things, basically. What's your quick, fast read of it? And then what's your read of it when you think about it? And I would prioritize the quick, fast read over the other one. But I know for me, my quick, fast read of this is that I don't know where to put this in my brain, so I don't put it anywhere. I love this one a ton, partially because it has photographic elements of depth and there's like a nice contrast between light and dark. So it's photographically and color palette pleasing. And it's also cool. Like it reminds me of fantasy kind of fun stuff, especially like also, Jeff, how when I'm on this frame, I can see this open sketchbook and a computer and these other kinds of like projects thing with this vibe. It's consistent as well, right? So for me, I feel like you've done a really good job with this kind of vibe. The cat, all of these things, and this, I feel like that's nailing it. How did you get this image? You
sick.
and you took the picture.
Yeah.
With an iPhone?
Pixel.
And with a Pixel, and
yeah.
Was it in like the morning or the evening? The light's really good.
Just afternoon. Have a nice
Amazing yeah. Afternoon pixel photography of something that is in your room. So I guess that's a super long answer to your question. How do you choose a good thumbnail for your work? I would try to find something that's engaging. If you can, kind of create it yourself, especially if that's kind of the vibe of your page. And it doesn't need to be great. I actually really like the Instagram photo editor just to edit photos. You can post it and then delete it right away because the photo editing is so intuitive on that. But did you edit that photo?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it looks great, man. Is that your read as well? Do you feel like this thumbnail is better than this one?
Basically, yeah. I chose the thumbnail for the research number 3 just because it applies a lot more to the contents of that blog post.
Yes.
So Yeah.
And this
And
one seems like it would be harder actually to visually represent.
yeah, but a random question that did also pop up with this blog post, the time lapse right there, is there a better way to work it in than just say, oh, this is my general work thing, and you can see the work process in the time-lapse video above? Because that's really the most I could do with it in my brain at the time. But yeah,
What do you think?
I mean, I think it's very applicable. I just didn't know if it should be there at all, if it should be the thumbnail even.
I mean, my sense is if you took a GIF or a small thing of this moving in when it's geometric and really basic, like any one of these early frames, just kind of even going back and forth like this, that would be an incredibly effective thumbnail, way more effective than the other one. I also think this kind of time-lapse screenshot is so valuable in terms of really showing your work. Did you do any editing of this? This is all the same feed,
Just
right?
yeah, just speed up time. That's it.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of content is amazing. It's very good. And I would think about potentially highlighting some of this or making this into another, you know, as a part of something else if you were so inclined, because that shows what you're doing in such an amazing way. And it's buried. I honestly feel like I would lead with this as the first thing that you see and then back up to this. So if it was me without like my skim of this, I like how this kind of gets you into it. But for me as an audience, this is where I stopped, especially when I hit play. But if you could, I like this a lot.
Okay.
And then just explaining this, honestly, the simpler, the better in that time. I don't know if that would make sense with the language here.
It does. It'll work. Yeah.
Shay, are you noticing anything?
I think the GIF idea of the part of like the shapes and objects he was making would be a killer thumbnail.
Why? Let's see if we can tease that out, as I feel like this is incredibly instructive.
So that I don't know, I guess it's just like a geometrically like pleasing like visual.
Good.
I don't know.
That's a great answer. I do think it's pleasing, and there's something, part of what's pleasing about it is that it's changing so much as well.
Yeah, like there's just, I don't know, it's just,
this is like art. It's like some of the, are you guys on TikTok yet? Well, it's coming. And I am perpetually amazed at how good their algorithm is and how many people are doing creative things like this. This reminds me of a really cool, I saw someone walk through an entire process of their art piece, how they took their art from the beginning to the end in about 60 seconds. And it was amazing to see how they made their artwork. This looks like that to me. I actually think this is really, really impressive. And I'm still just watching it, which is amazing. Maybe also because I've never done anything like this and I can imagine what it would be like to do this.
yeah.
Now, should it be faster also? Because it is time-lapsing over about 3 hours. So should it just kind of fly by more, or
my sense in answering this question is that you want to go with audience ease and audience enjoyment. I am not having to think about this. I'm just zoning out watching it. So I think it is at a good pace for my mental ease.
Okay.
You might think about looking at doing some editing to eliminate some of the folder work or kind of condense it, but maybe not, man. I think there's a kind of nice elegance to, like, this is an unedited time lapse. Did you say, yeah, how long was this of
It
your
was about
real-time work?
3 hours.
That's 3 hours of work. And how long is the video?
13 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, that to me would be a cooler title. 3 hours of, what is that product? What is that software called?
Autodesk Inventor.
3 hours of Autodesk Inventor in 13 minutes and 32 seconds.
Okay,
And some theory.
cool.
The other thing I like about that is so again, I'm really glad we have this example to look at, because it's reminding me of the things that I'm thinking about in designing what I'd like to design. One, you're thinking about how this is going to be of value to you and what you're doing, your why. But two, you're thinking about how could I make this better for the audience, and what could I do to make it clearer or more engaging or more valuable to them. By labeling and working on titles or what you put first in your revision strategy is huge. This is awesome. And it's kind of buried. I would do everything you could to highlight it, retitle it, to be very clear about what, would be interesting, engaging to another audience. So project part 2, I would completely get rid of that because I don't know what that means as an outsider. And I would be very clear about what this video shows and then break it down beneath it, which shows, I think, really fine analytical skills. So, you know what I'm saying? This is cool, man. So cool.
I mean, kind of. The part 1 and part 2 is because it's 2 different projects.
You got it.
So, I mean, the AutoCAD stuff has been part 2 for the past 3 posts. So should I just organize it by appeal, or should I continue with that naming convention?
That's a depends question.
Okay.
And I think it depends on your audience. And if it was me, for the exercise of getting the most out of this class, I would do whatever you could to make it easier on your audience.
Okay.
That means engaging and retitling your posts as specifically as possible. And that might mean cutting out things that eventually aren't really going to help them understand what you're trying to show them.
Okay.
It's great, man. So you can just make stuff like this. I want to see the final product.
Depends if what's it called? The project proposal that we turn in next week, and let me continue with it.
Well, I feel like you've done an intimidatingly good job for people that are making stuff. I'm now thinking about my project in terms of all these moving parts and what the comparable moving parts in software that I have. Cool. So that was actually a very long answer to the question that I hope other people, if you happen to be watching this, would think about how to, one, reorganize your work to put the coolest stuff right away and do everything you can to highlight the coolest stuff by renaming it. And then think about, in terms of your thumbnails, what's going to draw people in to what it is that you're doing. And that's one of the great things about doing this project, is it gives you a real opportunity to re-look and revise your work, to think how you could help people get into what you're doing. And I think, what is that? What is your project part 1, Jeff?
Card game.
Card game. Do you have a name for the card game?
Mechyard.
Mechyard card game. Is it an original card game?
Yes.
Okay. Mechyard, parentheses, an original card game, part 1.
Okay.
What's project 2? Oh, it's section 2. What is it?
Aquiline.
What is that?
Just one calm thing.
What is, I mean, it's a figure?
Yeah.
Action figure. Dude, that is so cool. So that gives me more Aquiline original action figure than Project Part 2.
Okay. That's good.
All right.
Do that right now.
And those are like the things that is really actually very small but can move the needle. I do think I really love your question because it's so detail oriented on what should I do with my thumbnails. But it actually really does reveal a big part of this process as you revise. Who's your audience? What do they care about? And what can you give them? And I think part of what you give them as a writer on the internet is the specific as possible, as soon as possible, kind of as a gesture of respect. That's like, hey man, if you're into original action figure design, check this out. If you're not, like, go watch some competitive Tetris or whatever else you want to do. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to make people think about it. And I know for me, I have to go through these steps where I'm making them more specific as I go. Does that bring up any other questions, Jeff? Thank you for letting your work be the example, and excellent job, dude.
Thanks. No, I'm pretty good for right now.
Good. And if anything, I in terms of your writing, I really like the way this looks. It's accessible, but I wonder if you could take any of this out and how much time you spent taking things out.
Okay.
In terms of the actual language. So you might think about being, just as an exercise, cut these down in half, just as a brutal editing exercise.
Sure.
Keeping the images.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been working on the project 3 right now. I haven't done all the revisions that are due Sunday yet, so I'll definitely do that.
Excellent. Shay, how are we doing?
Good, I think.
Do you have any particular questions with yours? Because we kind of got to what I wanted to get to in that example.
Trying to think, but not coming up with any questions.
Do you want to look at your most recent work?
Yeah, you can. I don't. I'm just trying to think of if I have any questions or not.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
Ooh, intriguing, especially this word. Love it. So in terms of writing, I don't know. I get addicted to seeing what I can cut out. So I hope.
Oh yeah.
You could frame this all as a question. How could I? What you're looking to the exposition and stories, clutch, structure. So I've got, how does the structure and exhibition of stories, or no, how could I implement the structure and exposition of stories in a 2D JavaScript platformer game? Question mark. New paragraph. Maybe the Author Learning Center has something to say about this. Specifically, exposition is So I love this, man. I actually think big purpose. Awesome, dude. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love that you have a guiding question and that you have some source's answer to that question, and you've integrated some media as an example of that, and then you connect it to the text. You've got really nice visual components that make it feel like I'm being drawn along. I love your words that you're using here. That are these programming specific language or exposition specific language?
Those should be programming and just
both. It's kind of cool, dude. That's
triggers.
cool.
I think triggers more like a non-formal word, but yeah, variables.
That's a definite programming language, right?
Yeah.
Because that's based VAR.
Yeah.
Aha. Answer to my question if I would have just kept reading and stopped talking. I love it, man. I think this looks really good as well, and this is really, really cool. Have you tagged these under different parts, or is this all? What does that mean?
Like, so that's the category it's under.
Awesome. And did you use your own? This is WordPress theme.
So yeah, I edited the WordPress theme to kind of get what I wanted.
Was that a free WordPress theme?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's a lot. It's a lot of good work. Honestly, you guys both have done a really good job of getting interactive kind of work where I'm kind of pulled in and I want to move around on your page a lot, which is really good. It doesn't feel static. It feels like it's in process. And I think these are both a really good start. Cool. Any other questions?
No.
Any fascinating cultural news of relevance based on the global response to our first ever pandemic?
I don't know. Like I said, I've been trying to avoid most news lately.
That's most people I talk to are in that boat. Like, I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
I know what to do. I'm staying home. Are you guys able to stay home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Been trying to get out and about more though, just to exercise, because I feel like for a while there I was getting very stiff and my body wasn't happy.
Yeah. I've been thinking about posture, and I've been walking early in the mornings. We have kind of open space by our house, so we're lucky that way. It's going to be very interesting, I think, to see. There's so many different ways local governments are responding to it, and countries are responding to it. It'll be interesting to see. Utah is doing a very ambitious test everyone kind of thing. Telluride is trying to test everyone for antibodies, trying to get everyone knowing whether or not they've had it or not. Both, which seem like actually pretty potentially promising approaches. Yeah. So some good news there. We'll see if that continues to get out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see all the kind of science and kind of studies that come from this.
Yes.
Because I don't know if the world's really ever seen a modern pandemic. Because I think the last one was the Spanish flu.
Yep.
And that was before widespread travel and
400,000 people flying from China in January.
Yeah.
Statistic that the New York Times reported on.
So.
And the systems of inequality in our country, I've been paying attention to the kind of pre-existing conditions of economic inequality and food insecurity and health insecurity. And we really do live in a land of haves and have-nots and so many people are getting by on credit that it's like a giant political wake-up call, and it's very interesting and curious to see how that's being processed and will be processed.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting from a sociology view, I guess.
That's what I mean. I remember thinking, and I remember telling my classes about it the week before spring break, that one of the most interesting reports I read was a cultural analysis of Italians versus Chinese. And okay, well, where's America on this cultural, Chinese are famous, Confucianism, especially for this idea of you are the collective. Yeah. And it's not we kind of don't think that way. Which, I mean, I'm not trying to say one way is better or not. It's just different,
Yeah.
It's like you're saying. Yeah. I've been listening to podcasts. I really have been enjoying that. Some people having really good conversations about all kinds of stuff online. That's been really good for me.
Oh yes,
And
I did end up watching a bunch of the Nerd Rider
yes,
videos.
he's brilliant,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, cause I know he focused a lot on movies and like,
Yes.
I think the one I liked probably the most was the one about Arrival. 'Cause that movie is insane.
Yes. He didn't
So
really. He was pretty critical of Arrival, wasn't he?
yeah, like I feel like I don't know. I feel like Arrival had so many good things, and like he touched on them, but like I feel like he like
I
you're
think he
like
kind of
not
missed it.
yeah, but it was still interesting to watch just to see that
Film
perspective.
critic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting example of a career that I've been really liking and following since he went to school for film and then ended up just kind of making a living out of these quirky
Yeah.
things he was doing because they were so good.
Yeah.
That's cool. I've been watching Rodney Mullen skateboarding videos, and Rodney Mullen. Do you guys know Rodney Mullen?
Yeah.
He is one of the most check him out, Jeff. It's RODN. He is one of the most interesting figures in skateboarding, partially because of just his attitude.
That's who I was thinking of.
He's got 2 TED Talks. Both of them are really, really good. Wow. And in one of them, he was saying that he was reading Feynman, which we haven't talked about. Richard Feynman. Do you guys know Feynman?
Yep.
You'd love him, Shay. Richard
Feynman. I
Feynman.
know the name, but I don't actually know.
Unbelievable, dude. Yeah. He is like a Einstein in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in his discipline, and just an incredible teacher and eccentric, very interesting, very, very interesting character. One of the coolest people I know of. And Rodney Mullen is another one of his TED Talks are probably the greatest place to start. One of my buddies, when I was kind of bummed out, he's like, have you seen any Rodney Mullen videos lately? And I'm like, no. And he's like, that'll always get you feeling better, is just to remember that some people do something so much that it's insane. Like, he was a world champion in skating from like 14 to 28. And yeah, amazing. Just amazing guy. And his TED Talks are really where it's at.
He's only 2 years older than Tony Hawk. It's
and him and Tony Hawk are buds. This one, the
Pop and him being like
Innovate.
a 20-year-old on an N64.
Yeah. He ooh, this is incredible. Have you guys seen these ads?
No.
Holy cow. Did you watch John Oliver's thing on OAN, One America News Network?
Yeah.
This is part of their media machine. So they're like basically like, buy our paper. He's talking about Chinese communists. The Epoch Times has been exposing the atrocities of the communists and, of course, the American left. Unbelievable development in the history of information right here. And the ad is like over the top, complete, like it almost looks like a freaking parody skit, but it's real. Of course, talking points, crisis at the border. Unreal. Anyway.
I mean, what's the Prager U?
Say again, Jeff?
Basically been doing Prager U.
Yes.
They've been doing the same stuff.
Yes. And Turning Point USA. That's why the meme war, we really didn't get a chance to talk about that. I was hoping to. I don't know if Biden's so equipped in the meme war. No. I think, I don't know. I don't know how well he's going to do. I think he might record a video soon. What I really love about these videos is that he just loves what he does. He's doing it because he just loves the process. And I think that just shows, for me at least, it's a good reminder. That's unbelievable. Like, what the? So, yeah, he's been an inspiring little, and he ends up talking about what it means to innovate, and it's a great TED Talk. Super fun. But I think I've got some competitive Tetris to watch now, thanks to Tyler. Well, it was good seeing you guys. I think my internet's done.
Yeah.
Any questions? Seems like we're good.
Can you hear him, Shane?
Oh
no. Okay.
I think
He's trying.
I think it might be mine. I think I overloaded the bandwidth by trying to watch Rodney Mullen inspirational videos.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
there's been a lot of reports of like ISPs and like other or like big networks trying to throttle people's data while everyone's using it. So definitely
does that mean?
possible.
What does that mean?
Like if they see you like you using like more than X amount of bandwidth per second, they'll reduce quality or reduce speeds just to.
I see.
Which they've been doing for years.
Yeah, I think they're just doing a much more drastic.
Ajit Pai and whatnot.
Man, it's this whole world that is like invisible but going on all at the same time.
There's some if you're interested in like weird networking things and like all that. Like I know there's a couple like people who talk about like the reach ISPs have in like your like how you consume the internet. Trying to think of the names. It's I think Jacob Applebaum is a guy who talks about it. It's crazy how they can just like control your connection like so easily.
Who was the guys?
It ain't good.
Who was I can't remember his last name. His first name I'm pretty sure was Aaron. He was like a proponent of free access to data, who committed suicide I think when he was really young after he like famously stole a bunch of things that he thought should be open access. There's a big documentary about
I know who
him.
you're talking about.
Basically like an advocate for free and open information on the internet. Aaron Schwartz.
Yes.
Have you heard of this guy, Jeff?
No. Is he basically just like another Snowden?
Yes,
type?
kind of in that vibe. I described him fairly well. He is a computer programmer, entrepreneur, writer, political organizer, and internet hacktivist. And he did have an incredibly short and brilliant life. Huge figure in the history of the internet, really, I feel like, based on how he was presented to me anyway. Internet Hall of Fame. That could be a cool website. Well, I'm going to get back to work on this other stuff.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, this is Ableton. What's so interesting about this program is that you can see time going from left to right. So this is how all digital audio workstations work. Yeah. You have like, a beginning, and if I hit play on this, it's going to, but my audio engine is off, but it would go through left to right. But you also, if you hit tab, you also have a view where each one of these are different scenes. So instead of time moving left to right, time goes up to down, but on an order that you stipulate. So I could play this time for as long as I want, and then play this time and then play this time. So like clearly like DJs and EDM artists love this software because I can be like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not making that kind of music. Mine's more like acoustic guitar lines and then some and I'm horrible at naming my tracks. One of my audio engineer buddies was like, "Are you kidding me? How do you work like that? You're an animal. You should be color coded and named. I can't look at that." He like totally had an OCD episode seeing my workflow. And then you look at the work that he does, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's probably right. I need to organize my stuff here." All right. Well, that was probably thoroughly unhelpful, but what does it even mean to be helpful? I've been re-examining what productivity means. Maybe we should have been doing Ableton review this whole time. And maybe next time, Jeff, you can teach us how to use AutoCAD Inventor, which none of us will, or at least I probably will never get to do in my life. So maybe that's a bad idea.
It's free students, so they might let you into it too.
Oh, that is another thing I wanted to. There is a lot of free or cheaper software. I wanted to make sure. I don't think I ever said that explicitly in class. We have, that's ACNS at CSU, right? We should show everybody that website. Academic Computing and Networking Services. What do we want here to get? Oh, right. I need to show my screen. What's the A stand for? Yes, Academic Computing and Networking Services. Where's the software? Here we go. I am a student. Man, this is really buried in here. How do you find the software that you have access to?
I mean, since they redid the website this year, I have no idea.
Well, I think we should write an open letter to the website saying that the class on writing websites is having a hard time finding the resources that students have for software for discounted prices.
Well,
or am I just an idiot?
Emails you, no, that's a great idea. If anyone emails you and says, "I still don't know what to do with my project," you can be like, "Well, here's this."
Yeah, we need.
I want to.
Okay. Search software. Software downloads. Why couldn't I find that? There we go. So yeah, they have Office 365, which I think we have for free. Yeah, that's awesome if we don't have that. I thought I thought they were running a deal with Adobe and.
Well, I know Adobe has a general deal for students where you can get like their entire Adobe suite for like $20 or $30 a month.
Really? You just need a student ID?
You just need a student email.
That's cheap.
Yeah, so I think I have the whole suite, and it's definitely nice to have. And it's all like the most updated.
That's right, because it's on the cloud right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good tip, especially if anybody's working in marketing or communication. Being able to at least have some stuff done with Adobe Suite and be able to advertise that is a huge selling point to a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's the entire suite too, like everything that Adobe has.
So, right, you could basically change a picture, put the picture into a video, make the video, change the After Effects to a video, turn the video into a brochure, compose an ebook that looks good. I need to hire someone to do all those things for me. So I'm hiring. Oh. Well, that brings us to the end of our class. We made it.
Another week down.
And you guys give me permission to use this recording publicly on YouTube for the sake of someone's instruction, although I don't know how much benefit they're going to get from our fairly unfocused banter.
Yeah,
Sure. Of course.
And can we restate the main idea of revising your website is to stay true to your own personal reasons for why you wanted to make the website, but then always make your decisions based on how easy it is for the audience to get what they might want out of your website? Finger wagging at ACNS.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm really, the only thing I feel bad about sharing from this video is that y'all's examples were so good that some people are going to feel like they need to do a lot of work.
And pop back onto my website, tear it apart, being like, Excel, that's a terrible program. Don't use that.
Excel's great.
Yeah. Yay, productivity in capitalist America. Or just skateboard like Rodney Mullen and do something you love, even though people tell you it's an awful idea, and it probably really is an awful idea. He is amazing. All right, well, it's good seeing you guys. I don't want to get off of the meeting, but I feel like I should.
No worries. See you guys. Thank you.
See you next week, hopefully.
Yep.
See you. Bye.